Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to take this student project and turn it into a presentation to show our client. I think the first thing I want to do is unhide all these layers. So let's actually do expand all. Let's make sure these are all visible. So we got a lot of things going on in this file. Okay, looks like we've got some small parts that were used for 3D printing. So I think the first thing I want to do is sort of organize my layers over here. There's a lot going on. I see a lot of layers. I'm happy to see layers, but they're kind of all over the place. So purge. I'm going to do a purge. And I'm going to hit say OK. All right, so purge gets rid of any layers that are completely empty and any text or annotation styles I'm not using, and a lot of other things. So now I have these layers here. One of the first things I like to make sure to do is I want 3D stuff, and I usually have 2D stuff. And then in my 3D layer, I'll have a sub layer that's like ½ inch, 12 inches, lock it. Perfect. So now I can actually update this thing and see how it changes and how it's affected in real time. See, this is what happens when these two things are separated from each other. Well, that could be true in real life. When we zoom out, look how thick that looks, right? That doesn't look right. So I'm going to go back in. Let's select this thing. Let's give it a thin line weight. Line weight hierarchy really helps to showcase what is more important in these drawings. And usually what's most important is the context and then your design itself. Let's make this one like a medium. Okay. So very little attention will be put on these little things, you know, what's existing. More attention is going to be on my design. So this looks a lot cleaner. Okay, am I happy with these doors? Let's put these doors on thin. Let's put these arcs, these door swings on extra thin. Perfect. That feels much better. Kind of tempted to put this poche wall on thick instead of extra thick. So here's the difference. Extra thick versus thick. I guess I'm okay with extra thick. There we go. Perfect. Let's save. Let's go back to our floor plan here in the model viewport. And now I want to bring in my design. So I'm going to grab my design. I'm going to grab everything that is O1. Oops, select sublayer objects. Let's ZSA that. And here in the perspective viewport, I'm going to go ahead and get a nice clean view of it like that. Something like that. And we'll do a make 2D. We're going to do a third angle projection this time. And then we'll hit OK. Let Rhino do its thing. It's thinking. Okay, here's my drawings. Let's move this about 100 feet away, maybe. Or maybe 25 feet closer. Or maybe let's just shove it this way. So these are some nice clean drawings that I have now. Okay, that's interesting. Might be some cleanup that we need to do. Seems like our 3D modeling wasn't perfect. So let's investigate that, because that's a little wonky. Let's turn off the context. Let's just hide that. Okay. So this piece of wood is going all the way over here where steel is, which is really not how that's going to work. Same thing over there. There's definitely some concerns here. I guess one concern I have about this piece is that it's really big. It's really long. Obviously, we don't have wood that's that big in the world. And we could just create a big tabletop out of one piece. So if I'm using plywood, the grain of that plywood might want to go left to right on this part, and then this way on this part. How it goes on this one, I am not sure. Almost tempted to just let them butt up against each other. But if it did go this way, guess I'll use this point. The maximum we'd be able to do that would be 96 inches, right? Because plywood comes into, most sheet goods come in at 8-foot increments. Sheets come in as 4 foot by 8 foot. So I guess we would need to think about that in terms of framing, right? How do we have a piece that is going to be that long? How do we join this piece to that piece? See, one solution could be to, well, I guess move this so that way it supports right in the center of where that seam is, and then do another custom piece over here, and then take this piece and let's hold Alt and rotate that and move this over here, and then we'll scale in one direction, and we'll scale it from this base point to this first reference point to this second reference point. So really it should go to this midpoint here. So that would be another piece, and then you would need to figure out how to connect the rest of it, how to do this piece. What does this piece look like? So I think for this exercise, I'm just going to stick with what they've got, and I'll just have some cleaning up to do. So let's grab our piece. I'm hoping it's all grouped. Nope. Let's go ahead and group it. And I'm going to grab it from this corner, which is got very many little turns, and we'll put it right there where it's supposed to go, I assume. And then now I'm going to want to update this based on my line weights. So I'm going to ungroup it. Okay. Actually, let's go ahead and group it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock it. or rather, I'll just lock the layers that it's on, which is Make 2D. And I'm just going to redraw this in a much cleaner way. So let's go to a medium line weight. We'll select this here. And I need to now figure out which I need to, who's telling a truth and who's telling a lie. So let's do it to the wall, I suppose, which is 3 foot and 1/16 of an inch. Okie doke. And then we'll come all the way to this bottom corner. And we'll go all the way to some sort of clean length here. 14.4 and 15/16. Let's call that 14.5. Okay. And then let's bring it back out this way. And looks like it wants to be, let's turn Smart Track on and snap to that point and then go back to moving in a straight orthogonal way. About 3 feet. Okay, that number's nice. And then let's come all the way to there. Okay. This is why I hate Smart Track, so I'm going to turn that back off. And we'll just go to there. And let's go to here, and let's hope. Let's hope that this meets up. No, it doesn't. So close. That's okay. So what I'll do instead is I'm just going to end this polyline. I'm going to turn off my Make 2D. Now I'm going to come in here and draw a line from here to there. And then we're just going to use the fillet command with a radius of 0. And we're going to go from here to there. There we go. So this is on the medium layer. So that's also on the medium layer. Okay, let's bring back our Make 2D. And then I've got some uppers that I want to show. So I'm going to grab that line. Let's go to Hidden. And we're going to grab this spot right here. And we'll go all the way down to here. Let's turn Smart Track on. I'm guessing they kind of connect, so I'm not going to let it have this weird odd gap there. And then I'm going to have it come straight over. And then I'm going to make sure I hit this wall. So drawing is a little, the 3D model is a little wonky. I want to make sure I have the same depth now, so I'm going to create another line from that point, and I'm going to go all the way over just like that and over exaggerate. Then I'll come over here and then I'll do this all the way to the white wall, just like that. Turn off Make 2D, fillet, 0 radius from here to here, and I'm going to take this trim that back. So that represents my uppers, this represents my top. I probably want a line right here and a line right here. And let's join those three. And let's join these. And then let's also bring to front, so that way they are in front of this line here. Guess technically we want to put a line right here to here, even though we probably won't see it. Let's join all that. And okay, let's see what this looks like here in our floor plan drawing. This looks really clean. So now what I want to do is I want to find my, I've got my layout tab over here. And I'm going to do dimensions. So let's do some dimensions in this space. I'm doing these dimensions on the sheet itself, not inside of this view. So first dimension, I'll dimension right here to here. Okay, that's about 3 feet. Turn that stupid smart track off. Okay, let's put that right there. Let's put this right here. Same thing. Okay, let's dimension this gap, which seems important. Okay. Let's see, maybe I want to do instead, I'll do a dimension that continues, and let's do a new chain, and it goes from here to here, and then we'll do it to there, and then we'll do it to there, and then we'll do it to there, and maybe there. Yeah, I think those are some important dimensions to know. So maybe I need to scooch them up so that way they're not covering any of that furniture. We'll grab these control points. Oops. Okay. Let's do another dimension. New chain. We'll do it from here to here. And let's do another new chain from here to here to there. And let's do another one from here to here to here to here. Oops. Let's try that again. Here to here. Bring that down. And to here, and then to here. Got some weird numbers. Okay, looks like I might need to scooch all this up. Maybe I need to put this into a 1/4 inch scale. Not sure yet. But these are some really important dimensions, and I think we want to show off. I think we want to show how each of these bays work as well. So let's double click this detail view, go to our make 2D layer, turn that back on. Let's see if I can figure out where those occur, because they don't really show up in this drawing. Let's go back here. So if I take this one, oh, right, it's locked. If I take this one, I'm going to hold Alt and copy it and put it over here, and I'm going to spin this around like this. This, I think, is this elevation right here. So, is that right? This is, could be wrong, but it's the right size for sure. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's select last. Let's group that. I just wanted to check and see where these occur. So I'm going to move this from here. I guess this drawing is correct, so I don't really need this one here. I'm going to delete that. And what I'm getting at is I want to make sure I can represent where the bays occur here, especially for the upper shelves. So I'm going to grab this little curve right here and explode it. And I'm going to grab this line here and offset it 3 5/8 of an inch. It's my frame CAD width. Let's make sure I'm not capping. Okay, great. There's one there. Let's take this guy and go this way. And let's take this line and let's take this line. And we'll type in split. We're going to split it by these two here. Okay, so now really this, and this. Nope, not that. This guy. These 4 lines. These 4 lines and these 4 lines should really be 2D lines. Let's make them, I guess let's try thick. I don't want it to look too thick. Because if we make these 4 lines thick, these 4 lines thick, what that means is that this is my ground, offset 4 feet. All right. Wherever this line is cutting, right there, cutting through the steel, right there through the steel, right here through steel, right here through steel, right here through steel. Technically, that should be kind of a thicker line weight. So let's go back to floor plan, see what this looks like, turn off Make 2D. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. Which means that I want to show the tabletop. So let's go back to our floor plan. Let's turn off Make 2D. Let's turn this one and change that to be, let's see, what am I looking at again? That would be, no, that should still be dashed. That's okay. Oh, but this angle's out. Gotcha. Let's do that. Let's just make a surface right now and cut at 4 feet. Move this up to 4 feet. So I'm cutting through this angle piece, cutting through this angle piece, so I should see that in my drawing a little bit. So let's go back to top. Right here, turn this one on. And I guess that's what I'm seeing right there. So maybe I'm misrepresenting this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these 4 lines and these 4 lines. These actually should be more on the medium side. And I'll turn Make 2D back on, and I'm going to draw some rectangles that are on the thicker side. And it would be here to 3 5/8. Or let's just go this way. From here, that way, 3 5/8. And then go down 1 5, no, actually not 1 5/8. Let's just go to here. And let's take that shape and copy it from here all the way to here. And then let's take those 2 shapes again and copy them from here to the wall. Let's turn off my Make 2D. Oops, did something wrong. Things are not as square as I thought they were. Okay, so I'm going to take these 4 little things and bring to front. Also, these ones technically should be scale 1D. From here to here, this should be 1 5/8. Okay. I would have assumed these were a little bit bigger, but Let's just make them 1 5/8. Technically, they're probably not 1 5/8 because it's at an angle. But whatever. We'll just make it 1 5/8 to make it look consistent. Let's go to our layout, see how that looks. Yeah. Yep, that looks about right. This represents the line of the shelf above, I think. Let's go back to perspective. Let's check. The depth of this is 17, 18. Looks like it should be 18. So let's go back to my floor plan. 17 and a half. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll select this and I'll select that. 17 and a half. Let's type in distance from here to here. 1 foot 5 7/16. It's really more like it's closer to 18, but this is fine. I'm off by maybe half an inch. That's okay though. Okay, so that looks more accurate. Let's go to perspective. So I've got the same situation over here. So I'm going to go back to my floor plan. I'm going to double click here. I'm going to select that stuff. I'm going to copy it from here to here. Why do the work twice? I've already made it once. And then I don't have one here because now it starts to go the other way. So what I can do though, is I can take this stuff. I'm going to type in C for copy. And I'm going to copy it just to here. I'm going to select that, use my gumball to rotate it. I'm going to move it from here to there. Let's go back to perspective. It should go to there, to there, to there. So let's turn on my Make 2D so I can see the old drawing. And looks like it's over here. So the distance between this piece here and this piece here is 3 foot 11 3/4. So why don't we call that 4 feet? Let's grab all that. Oh dear, what's going on? I'm going to turn off my Make 2D. I'm getting too confused. Something wrong with my own drawing. Is that occurring over here too? It is. Here too? Yes. And here too? Of course. At least I'm consistently wrong. So now I can grab all that, move it, and then let's type in, let's do a polyline from here to there. I'm going to offset 4 feet this way, and let's double check my measurements. I measured from this edge to this edge, I think. Yeah. So back in floor plan, I'm going to grab these components. I'm going to copy it from here to, let's try that again, from here to here, perpendicular. And then there should be one at the end. So let's go back to floor plan, and I'll grab this and I'll copy it to here. Okay, let's delete these 2 lines. Double click here to check out our vision. I don't really get how this works here. Let's go to perspective. This piece just kind of floats because it's got some little supports underneath. Gotcha. Okay. So let's go here. I think that's starting to look really good. Feeling a little indifferent about the scale that I chose. So I'm going to unlock this. And we're going to say 1/4 inch is equal to 1 foot. And lock it. Okay. I can live with that, I think. What are those 2 lines for? So it looks like I'll have to do all my dimensions again. So let's select dims, delete, and I think now that drawing's looking pretty decent. Maybe these lines could be a little bit thinner. What is this one? That's also medium. Let's make it thin. Make this one thin, this one thin. Let's make all these thin. There we go. I like that. Don't like seeing that dash line. That was a result of me doing the bring to front. I guess I really don't need that line. We'll delete that. Let's exclude this one. We'll exclude these and delete all of that. Maybe these are a little fat too. That is my thick. I'm going to switch these to medium. They're too fat. Let's do this one, these ones, these ones, and these ones. Medium. Okay, that's fine. Let's get rid of this extra line. Okay, I can live with that. All right, let's think about our layout, and I'm going to make a new layer called title block. Title block. And let's put that in the layout tab. Make it current. And I'll start this by making a big rectangle that's 17 inches by 11. I'm going to offset it about maybe 1/4 of an inch. Just like that. And then we're going to make it kind of minimalistic. So let's do some text. And we are not going to use Arial. I'm going to use Franklin Gothic. I might want to create a new style, but I'm feeling a little lazy now. Let's hit OK. Oops. Forgot to add some text, so let's change that back. And we'll call this I think what I'll do is I'll borrow from my previous title block that I've made in the past. I've used this one a lot for my FrameCAD project, so I'm going to just visit this file, copy it, and I'm going to paste it right into here. It was designed for 8.5 by 11, but I think I can tweak some stuff around. So I'm going to grab my detail view and I'm going to shove it out of the way. I'm going to delete these lines that I made already. And let's see, the first thing I'll do is I'm going to grab, I guess I'll grab all of this, hit F. So it looks like this is a 1/4 inch. So if I grab a line, offset this 1/4 inch this way, I can take all of this, hit F10, and select the proper control points, not including this image, which I'm going to delete anyways. And I'm going to move all this way. Actually, I'm going to do that. Yeah, that's fine. And I think what I want to do is I want to take all of this and I'm going to move this from here to here. And I don't need this to go that high. So let's take all of this, F10, take all that, move it down display color by layer, this one by layer, this one by layer, and let's go ahead and group this. Group, group, and then I'm going to take these two and just align their bottoms like that. And I'm going to move this off to the side a little bit. I'm going to move all of this off to the side a little bit. Let's take all of that and put it on the thin layer as well. Change object layer. Okay, now that makes more sense. So then what I could do is I can actually take this stuff, which is more in the forefront of this elevation, right? It's really this thing right here. I can take all of these items that make up this drawing and change it to something like medium. So when things are closest to us in view, that should be a little bit bolder than things that start to fade away and are in the back. Okay, and let's do the same thing with this one. So if I spin this way, this stuff is much more in the forefront. So let's ungroup this, take all that, not being very careful not to grab random little things that come along. And let's make that medium. All right, there we go. Save. Let's go to floor plan. And I'm going to divide this space up into, let's do 4. Let's take these control points here and move this up to here, and take these 2 points here and move them to this midpoint here. Okay. Why am I still seeing this? Oh, undo, 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 undo. Sorry, this is my view. So I'm going to take this stuff and move it over here, and move this stuff down to here, and move this stuff to the midpoint of this line here, wherever that is, right there. And then I'm going to take this one, and this one, and this one, and not this text, and move this up to this midpoint. Okay, so now I'm going to open this viewport, unlock this view, zoom out, ZS, and then type in 0.25 inches in my layout is equal to 12 inches in the model. And I am going to lock that. So it looks like it won't fit as a quarter. So here's what we'll do. We'll move this down, give it more room to breathe, and unlock this again one more time. ZS, and we'll do 0.25 and 12. Lock it. Now, the reason why I want to keep this at the same scale, at this specific scale, is because it's measurable. I can actually take a ruler or scale and measure some of these dimensions if I don't have those measurements detailed here. Now, it looks like I may have accidentally deleted something, so I think this stuff is what I deleted. So that's going to have to come back down to here. There we go. And then what I'll do here is I'm going to take this whole detail view, copy it all the way over here, and grab this detail view, grab these points, come down, do that. Oops. Looks like I was copying. So just this detail view, grab those points and move. Okay. And then I'm going to copy this upwards, and I'll do my 2 elevations. So let's take this, unlock. Let's find this elevation and zoom into it. change the scale and lock it. Grab this one over here, unlock it, find my other one, ZS, and 0.25 and 12, and lock it. And here's another trick. If I select all of that drawing and invert, I can also say hide in detail everything else besides this drawing in this view. Same thing here. Select the stuff I want to show in this view, invert my selection, hide in detail, all of those things so they don't show up in this detail. If I simply said hide, it would just hide everything in all of my viewports. And that's what it looks like with a little bit of a sort of thicker line weight in some of those. It's kind of too bad I can't fit this as a 17 by 11. Let's try it anyways. So if I said 0.5 and then 12, 0.5 and then 12, yeah, it's just a little too big. That's unfortunate. Guess I could do something like 3/8, but that's not a really good scale to use. 1/4 inch, 12 inches, lock it. All right, last time I'll do that, promise. All right, so let's make sure I keep this file organized. Curve, that's border. So where's border? Since I copied this from my other file, got to make sure that, oh, it's all right here. Sweet. I'm going to call this title block border, title block medium, title block text, title block logos, everything having to do with the title block. And then I'll grab all 4 of these, put it on the title block layer, go back to default. If I turn off title block, all those go away. Let's also make a new layer for detail views. And we'll grab all of our detail views and just put them on layer 2. Okay. I think one thing I want to do in these drawings is I want to go to a 2D layer and I want an extra thick line. And I'm going to make a nice big thick long, well, let's see how, let's go back to here. What I'll do is I'll make an extra thick line from here to here and another thick line from here to here. So this one I am going to put from here to here. Okay, and then this one I will put from here to did I do that one? Let's see. This view is looking this way, so yeah, this one goes over here, and I rotate it to go that way. Yeah, there we go. Now if I go to floor plan, now I can see just how long that is. This line is showing up from this drawing over here, so I'm going to say hide in detail. And then, of course, this line from over here, hide in detail. And in this floor plan, same thing, hide in detail. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say unlock ZS. Oops. ZS, all of this stuff. So it centers it 0.25 inches and 12 inches. And then lock. And then this one, ZS. Oops. Unlock it. ZS. Escape. 0.25 and then 12. And then lock it. Just so now this is like pretty nice and centered. And I think all I really need to do now are do some layout text. Let's do view titles. And I'm going to do text. And I'm going to put the number 1. And frame, let's put a capsule frame. See how big that is. Ooh, that's nice. Let's do a line from... Oh, I can't select this circle. That's too bad. Darn. Okay. So here's what I'll do instead. I'll take that. No capsule frame. And do a little... do a circle or a square. But let's do an 1/8 inch diameter circle. Let's align these concentrically. Let's make sure that this is centered like that, and then align concentrically. And then I'll make a line that goes from here to about, say, 2.5 inches. And grab this text, holding Alt, clicking and dragging my gumball, and we'll call this one. This is pretty much the front elevation. So elevation. Let's do it aligned left. And then usually what we like to do also is mirror that. And we're going to describe the scale of this drawing. Which is 1/4 of an inch is equal to 1 foot 0 inches. Okay, well that's good. I think I might do that as italicized, or definitely dimension things vertically in these elevations. So I'm going to dimension from the ground to here. That's 3 feet. And let's continue a dimension to this piece of wood, or this. I guess this one here, and then this one there. Okay, and then we need a new dimension from here to here. Maybe from here to here. And we'll take this one and move it out. is what it is, I suppose. So let's do that. And let's do another one continuously from here to there to there. And Rhino's having a tough time because this is so big. So let's do this. Maybe we need a different font size. Let's do set of 3/32. That would be 6/64. So let's do 5/64 for the next one. 5/64. Oops. Great. 5/64. And update dims to match. Yeah, I guess we'll call this 5/64 instead of 3/32. It's kind of small, but okay, that looks good. That looks good-ish. And that's still 7 feet. And then let's turn on extra thick dimension from here. Oops. Continue off. Let's just do it from here to here. 7 foot and 1/2 inch. How am I getting different dimensions? Oh, because there's a top here. Got it. There's just a little bit more wood than there is here. Gotcha. Okay. And then over here, let's do some more dimensions, just like we had done previously. So let's break it down this way. Maybe we want to dimension this interior part. And then this interior part. And then we'll do one from here to here. We'll do one from here to here. We'll do one from here to here. We'll do one continuously from that point. Okay, I think with these dimensions, that pretty much describes our project. Let's take this out, delete, and let's take, oh, kind of forgot a sheet number. Typically we do want a sheet number. So if I take all this and we move it over, got about 5/8 inch of room, so let's call it 0.5 inches. And if I take all of this stuff here and move this over, can gain another inch, or maybe 3/4 of an inch. Okay. Actually, let's undo that last one. Let's put this right back where it goes. Actually, no, you typically do want a page number on the bottom right. So, okay, let's redo. that's one of two ways of doing it. You can either use your 3D view, or you can actually just use your 2D, make 2D stuff. And then in this 2D view, I can also come over here and say, let's use, you know, ray trace or Arctic mode. That's Arctic. Let's do rendered mode, right? We don't really have any materials here. So there's some things I can see all the way in the background, and that's like my 2D stuff. Look at that stuff right there. So I don't want to hide this whole entire layer because that's going to affect my other drawings. If I go back to here, I want to check and make sure my 3D stuff is not popping out. That's why I had this spaced out a little bit. And so what I'll do here is I'm going to double click in this view, make sure I'm in that view. And basically I'm going to say 3D, select sublayer objects, invert, hide in detail. And that just hides away those things. So if this is a rendered view, maybe I want to play a little bit with some rendering materials. So let's go ahead and do that. Very roughly. We don't need to get too crazy with rendering. So FrameCat sticks, default material. Looks like I've got something going on. So we're going to hit plus. We're going to go to metal, and we'll hit OK. And then, is this really rendered view? We'll see. Let's do the wood next. Wood plus find wood. We'll just call it plastic for now, and we'll make it somewhat brownish. And then this metal stuff, let's make it a little bit darker than white. There's steel. Let's make it a little bit darker. Not blue, but darker. Something like that. Maybe I can do something a little bit more orangey. And without going too far into how to render, that's not too bad of a render. Let's double click inside of this view. Let's lock it. Let's double click outside of it. Let's come back to here, ungroup this. We'll call this run 1 because it's the only drawing on here. Call it a 3D view if it's not obvious already what it is. Let the scale, and say NTS, not to scale. Okay. Now if we did the, let's do an alternative one. Let's do copy. Let's put it before number 2. Oh, oops. Just moved it. Mover copy. Put it before 2. Mover copy. 2. Create a copy. Okay. So we'll call this the alternative number 1. And we'll come into, we'll double click this one. We'll hit uncheck locked. We'll go back to our normal wireframe or shaded view, whatever we want to use. And let's type in show in detail. And let's find this piece right here. Zoom into that. Just this alone. And go back to a top view. And zoom into it again. If if I want to play around with the line weights a little bit, let's lock this before I do anything. Then I could do something like this. Select all that. A command called curve boolean. And we'll go to, let's go to a thick line weight. And I'll click anywhere outside of the region like this. We'll click in there and in here and in here and there and here. Everywhere. So curve boolean takes all of this geometry and it says, well, if you want to combine some of these regions, just click within those regions so I know where we are combining. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm kind of doing the opposite. I've combined everything and now I'm saying, just give me some of these pockets that you've got in here. And then just hit OK. We'll bring to front. So it's at the forefront of this drawing. And that's how you create a nice clean vector drawing. Okay. Pretty clean, clear, straight to the point. Either of these work. Obviously this one has a little bit more depth and shading to it. Let's double click this one. Let's unlock it. And let's also make sure our camera Z is at about 6 feet. I'm about 6 feet tall, so I'm going to do 72 inches, just like that. Maybe I want to reorient this a little bit. And then change this back to 72. There we go, 25 mil. And then let's lock it. We'll save. So I've got all of my drawings now. Two versions of one. And I've got a nice clean set of drawings that show everything I need to know about this design right away. Right, if I wanted to add some text to this, maybe I would come in here. Let's find, this is layout text. What is in layout text? I don't think anything is in layout text. Let's undo that, delete. And we'll just call this text notes. And we'll go to it. And we'll use the same color as our dimensions. Which one? And here under text note, I could do things like leaders. And I can come in here and say, let's turn ortho off. Oops, off, I said. Right. Or let's just do text for this one. And we'll say, move overrides, and we'll call this one existing work table. Something like that. Right. If I want to center it a little bit better, I might put this point here on the midpoint and just kind of eyeball and drag it down like that. Okay. Let's copy this over from here to about midpoint and put it somewhere around there. We'll call this one existing desk. Right, maybe just call out a few things, right? Let's move this over like that. And we'll call this entry, just to help everybody sort of orient themselves to it. And then this one we'll call, gee, I forgot what that room is called. To room 221C, I believe it was. To tech. Oops. 221C. And then maybe we want to call specific things out. So if we use a leader, I might be able to say this thing. Oops. Hold shift for this part. That is steel. All right. And maybe I do another one over here. That is plywood. Maybe this one can go over here. If I really want to center it, I can align concentrically to this diagonal line. Call this one existing CAD symmetry. And there you have it. Let's hit save. Let's do a print. And we will print Rhino PDF or Adobe PDF, whatever you have. And let's do tabloid, which is 17 by 11. We will do print multiple layouts. We'll do all three. Okay, or if I don't want to do the alternative one, I'll just turn that one off. I'll just do these two. Okay. Make sure scale is set to 1 to 1. Hit print. And let's go ahead and put it in our folder. OCC projects. Let's go to OCC 2026, spring 2026, workshop 2 and 3. And I'll make a new folder for my students. We'll call this PDF. And inside of the PDF, I'm going to put a date, 260228. Tab as sample PDF. And I'll save it there. Let Adobe do its thing. And there we have it. 17 by 11. Here's my 3D view. Here's that. One funny thing I'm noticing is this text is changing, and it probably has to do with the font not being installed properly or something like that. I'm not sure that I want to give in and use Arial, but let's see. Let's ungroup this. This one is using Franklin Gothic Medium, so maybe I just use Franklin Gothic Medium for that. And what I'll do instead is I'll say edit style, annotation style, new. This is foot inch architectural. Hit OK. And we'll go to this one and we'll edit it. We'll call this one. View. title scale 1. And let's just use Franklin Gothic medium. And let's change this to 0.1. And let's change this to... Okay, actually I think that's it. This one and this one, and hit OK. Now we can change this to that one there. And we'll change all, let's ungroup all of these. Change all of these to that style. They don't seem to be changing. That's weird. View title scale. Franklin Gothic medium, not condensed. Should be Franklin Gothic medium. And then my dimensions were also a little funky because they're using the same one, so I'm going to have to go here, edit style, change this to Franklin Gothic medium, and hit OK. you guys in the next one.